Aloha everyone, what is really good my dudes? Welcome to another RuneScape discussion video. For this video I want to talk about the woodcutting skill and give you some ideas about what I would do to change it and improve it if they were ever to do a rework in the future. So without any further ado, let's jump right into the video. Let's go.
Cats is the illest. What you talking about, Willis?
Alright guys, to get started, while yes, woodcutting is the topic for this video, it is by no means what I think is most dire for a rework. It is simply just one that I have what I would think are some cool ideas for, so I decided to make a video on it. Now having said that, I really like what they did with the mining skill when they did the rework for the mining and smithing, because it really broke the mold and changed the way a gathering skill behaves. Because if you look at RuneScape, traditionally speaking, when you're looking at gathering skills, they pretty much are the exact same skill with a different skin no matter what gathering skill you look at. What I mean by that is, for the most part, there's skilling nodes somewhere around in the game world. You click on them, wait for your inventory to fill up, and move on to the next one. Or you deplete the resource or the resource moves, you click on the next one, and then you just simply wait until your inventory fills up. And that is basically how every single gathering skill has worked since the beginning. Mining obviously did a couple of things to change that up, introducing things like stamina, opportunities, and stuff like that. Then archaeology came around and it was a gathering skill and really shook it up too, introducing all new mechanics, things like mysteries and research teams that really change what it means to be a gathering skill, which is why I want, and I hope when I envision the future of RuneScape, all gathering skills to feel unique and actually kind of feel like the skill that they are actually portraying, instead of a carbon copy of one another with different visuals. So if we are looking to rework woodcutting, I want to fundamentally change the way the player interacts with the skill. So looking at the fundamentals, the idea I have for the basic way you would train the skill comes in two steps, or is in twofold. The first step involves felling the tree. The second step is harvesting from that felled tree. I think with these two steps, it will make the skill actually feel like you're woodcutting. So having a look at step one, felling the tree. Basically, this will work pretty similar to how woodcutting does now. You walk up to a tree, you click on it, and your character will start to try to fell that tree. Trees themselves, I would make them to have basically a life bar or a health bar. It's not exactly that, it's not a one-to-one to PVM, but that's the best way I could describe it for you to understand how it functions. So trees will basically have a quote life bar, and different hatchets will have the equivalent to damage. The higher tier, the more damage it will do to that tree and ultimately fell it faster. And depending on the tier of tree, the more health it would have, presumably. So in step one, the felling of the tree, this is where I envision the bulk of the XP training will come from the skill. In this process, you will not be gathering any logs whatsoever during the entirety of this half of the gathering. So players, if they do want maximum XP per hour, could go around felling trees without harvesting them. This does, however, sacrifice any potential profitability because you will not be earning any logs whatsoever. So there is a clear trade-off. I imagine a felled tree will last in the game world no more than 5 minutes, maybe 4 to 5 minutes tops, before respawning to a fully healthy tree. So that's the first step. Just to recap, it's basically how woodcutting is now. Click on a tree, you're going to keep attacking it, whittling away at its quote health bar until it fells. Each tree type has a set amount of XP, so the faster you are able to fell a tree, the faster you'll be getting woodcutting XP. Now, I want to talk about the second step of the skill, and that is harvesting from a felled tree. Now after you've depleted that HP bar, the tree will fall to the ground, you will actually see it on the ground, and that is where the gathering portion of the skill takes place. Here you will click on the tree, and you can click on it from different sides of it. You can click on the middle, you can click on the ends, and you will begin to break it down into its smaller pieces. This portion does earn you woodcutting XP, but it is not as much as felling the tree itself. But as I said, you do get the resources, so there is the trade-off there. Now with this portion of the skill, I would like to introduce new resources that can come from woodcutting. Obviously, you're still going to get your logs, which is going to be your primary construction resource, and it will have uses for fire making, but not as much as it does now. In addition to this, you can also gather branches. Branches would be primarily used in fletching, and that skill would partially use logs as well, but mainly branches. Also, another resource you'll be getting are twigs. Twigs are primarily used in fire making. They would be used to make kindling that will help you light fires, and I haven't fully fleshed out that idea yet, but in some form or fashion it will be beneficial to the player in some way to use the kindling. So there you have it. The second portion of the skill, harvesting from a felled tree, will provide you with less XP, but 3 different resources that will aid you in several different skills. Logs will primarily be used for construction, branches primarily for fletching, and twigs primarily for fire making. I do also kind of like the idea of harvesting the actual leaves themselves, then you can maybe dry them up and you can create kindling with that, or maybe something else with fire making, because let's face it, fire making does need more than just incense sticks. And also, I almost forgot to mention, in this harvesting section of the skill, this is where you're going to be having a random chance of getting bird's nest, and I would like to see them improved with better drop tables and maybe even different tiered bird nests, much like we got geodes from the mining and smithing rework. So that is how I personally would change the fundamental of the core training of the skill. Once again, 2-step process: walking up to and felling a tree, depleting its HP until it falls to the ground, and then harvesting that felled tree for logs, branches, twigs, maybe even leaves and bird's nests. Now, in addition to all that, I would also like to see them revisit the sawmill. I would very much like to see that this be an alternate way to train the skill as well. I haven't fully decided if I want it to be a money maker or a best XP per hour type, but in some way I would definitely like to see the sawmill incorporated and reused. Ideally, you'd bring your own logs that you gathered or you bought them from the GE. You could even use more log types than what is already existing in game at the sawmill. Right now, I believe you can only do regular logs, and you don't even use any of the materials that you end up making. You deposit it into a box and you give it to some kind of theoretical NPC. But I would like us to see these and use these for the construction skill. In what way? I haven't fleshed out that idea yet, but I could definitely see it being used. Now, to what I was saying, I want to see them not only use the regular base logs that already exist in the sawmill, but the other tiers as well, at least for construction. So that means oak logs, teak logs, and mahogany logs, where we can make the different type of cuts, the slanted cut, short cut, long cut, etc. of different sized planks. And as I said, those planks could be used in construction in some way, but ultimately the point is, sawmill training is something I would really like to be incorporated much more deeply into the skill and provide an alternate training method than traditional woodcutting, or what I have proposed to be the new form of woodcutting. Anyways, guys, let me know what you guys think of those ideas. Maybe it inspires you to create new ideas. Love to hear that down in the comments below, or maybe you disagree with me entirely and want to see something completely different done with the skill. Love to hear all your thoughts down in the comments below. I'm going to wrap up the video there. If you enjoyed the discussion, hit that like button. If you're not subscribed yet and you want to stay up to date on all things RuneScape related, then hit that subscribe button. Anyways, I appreciate you watching. I am out. Aloha.